Happy Friday, everyone.
Hey, everyone. How's it going? Welcome. Thanks for joining.
We're not Talon. What's going on?
I mean, it's hard to like fake being Talon. That's for sure. He's got a look.
So I'm Ainsley. I am a senior experience designer on Adobe XD, and I'm here joined by my colleague Alex.
Hey, everyone. I'm Alex Poterek, also senior designer on Adobe XD. I'm excited to be here. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's really fun to come on and actually get to design live and talk to you guys on the live stream. Hi, 7-Up. Hi, Roman. So we are filling in this week for Talon. He is in Tokyo, actually. So I'm not really sure what time it is for him.
I'm so jealous of him right now.
Yeah.
He's been so excited for this trip, and I know he's just like having a blast, eating the best food.
Yeah. Going to the best 7-Elevens.
There are so many of them there.
He's speaking actually at UX conference in Tokyo, so any of our design followers that are there, maybe pop over. I think he's speaking basically Saturday morning Tokyo time, so kind of like Friday evening, Friday afternoon SF time. So that's why we're here, and we're very happy to be here. And so we're going to continue on the cycle that we've been doing in the new year that Talon's probably been talking to you all about, which is on the first Friday of every month, we're going to be designing a feature. So we're going to just do it live. We're going to show you all how we walk through new features that are going into XD. So that's what we're doing today. And then a reminder, on the second Friday of every month, there will be design practices and portfolio reviews. So we'll be sending out a link about that later if you want to submit to have your portfolio reviewed, probably by Talon and another XD designer live. And then the third Friday of the month, I think we're going to keep doing this schedule, is going to be the creative challenge, which is really fun. And then the fourth Fridays, we will be talking about our design process. So just kind of having a discussion about the different parts of being a designer and the challenges in each stage of that process.
Super excited
to
get designing today.
Right, so today we will be designing a feature, and I was kind of going back and forth about what to do, but we went ahead and chose one ahead of time, which is multiple shadows.
And if you guys have like other features, we'd love to hear them regardless, and maybe we can work our way into this design process if we have time. But yeah, so throw any of those ideas out there. You guys always have some good ones. I'm just noticing people shout out where you're from. I love to see that too. That's my favorite. I see Michael's from Michigan, my home state, so representing over there. And I bet it's freezing. The polar vortex still going on over there? I just saw photos of the guy surfing in Lake Superior. Have you seen those?
No.
His beard is just like icicles, and he has like the trident thing. It's amazing. But anyway.
Hi, Raleigh.
Nice.
North Carolina.
Nice.
Cool. So speaking of requesting features, we wanted to remind you about user voice. So probably all of you on the live stream are like pro and you already know about user voice, but that's where we see what you all are really wanting to see in the product. Oh, hi Philippines, Macedonia, sweet. International audience.
All over the place. That was a great segue, by the way. User requests, right into the user voice. That was pro. That was really good.
Yeah, I am pro. Just kidding. So if you're using XD and you're like, oh, why is there not dark mode? Just kidding. I saw that up there. Go to adobexd.uservoice.com. It's pulled up on my screen here very nicely. Thank you, Paco. And you can check and see if it's already requested. And so I'm going to type in multiple shadows, have that pre-populated, and you can see that up here there's a result that says shadows, 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 shadows. So I'm going to bet that it is covered in here. And indeed, it's separated out into 4 issues, and we have multiple shadows right here. So multiple fills, borders, and shadows has been highly requested, and we know that people want that, and that is on our roadmap, and we're working on it. And one of the things we wanted to do today is kind of get the ball rolling with like a really kind of rough mock-up of what that looks like.
What are people saying about it? Are they just saying they want it, or are they saying like reasons?
Well, they're saying some people feel very strongly about it, and we really care about that. But one of the really common use cases I see on here is people trying to replicate Google Material Design.
Yep.
So you're designing using Google's UI kit and you're using XD, but one of the key features of Google's Material Design is this double shadow thing. And so I was kind of looking into that. I obviously mostly design using Adobe's UI kit, but Google Material Design has, I'm sure you all know, hi on the live stream, it's not just one shadow, it's actually a key light shadow and an ambient light shadow really nicely like layered on top of each other. So people who are trying to replicate Google Material Design are not really able to do that in XD, or they're having to kind of use two elements on top of each other, which can get really difficult to manage. So this is something that we want to like help people with and put it into the product. And so when we're thinking about doing this, we are asking a lot of questions about, first of all, how people are using it. So one top use case we've already named, but we also want to think about when they're going to use it. Like when in a workflow would I want to add multiple shadows? Is it kind of at the beginning as I'm kind of sketching out the layout, or is it in the middle, or is it more towards the end when I'm adding more polish? And then we want to think about how often people are using it, so that influences like where it goes, maybe in the property inspector.
Do you have opinions about where and when already, or is that something you want to kind of go through right now?
I think that I kind of want to like look at our other benchmark products, so looking at Illustrator and Photoshop, and then compare that to what we know about using XD and what our users are requesting. Do you have opinions about it?
I do. I have opinions about everything, but no, I think that's really smart. I mean, a lot of really smart people have done this work in the past in Adobe specifically, so in Photoshop and Illustrator. So looking at what they've done and learning from that is always the best way to start something.
Totally.
And repurposing work that's already been done is never a bad thing, and if you can improve on it, you do it. So
sweet. Well, let's do that right now. Actually, I'm gonna swipe over my desktop. And let's look at how it's done right now in Illustrator and Photoshop and see what we can gather from that. So I have pulled up this really nice document that was made by Jacob Kakamo, and I got this, it was a free download from Dribbble when I searched like material design shadows. And he has really nicely broken down the different DP, the different shadows that are on there. So it was really helpful to me as I kind of broke down how to replicate these material design shadows. So it has the directions, and I'm gonna click this and then look at the effects applied and just kind of see which shadows are applied. And so we can see here, it's like a low opacity, no X offset, a little bit of blur. And then this is also, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this for my like research for how this feature works in Illustrator. I'm gonna take that. There we go. I'm going to kind of drop it in my document that I'm going to use later.
Cool.
And so we can see, just like kind of talking through this out loud, we can see here in Illustrator that there's like a little appearance panel that stacks up the different effects that are applied to an object.
Now, does the order matter for the drop shadows, like what's on top, what's on bottom, or do they sort of like neutralize each other? It doesn't really matter what's on top or not.
That's a good question.
Because it looks like you can rearrange it.
It looks like it does really matter.
So yes. That must be like an important part of our feature, right? Is being able to reorder it, because there's use cases for stacking.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm no shadow expert. I wish I was. But it looks like the way it works is they kind of build off of each other. So it's like almost like a multiplying effect. I
see. Oh, because they probably have different, what blend modes maybe? So if you click into the property, what was that again?
So that's a good, we have opacity, X and Y offset, blur.
So up top, then you have the blend mode though, right? So
oh yeah.
That's gonna change everything. That's why the stacking actually matters.
Got it.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly, it's a multiply. They're both multiply, which makes them blend nicely. And I know that last month Talon talked about blend modes, which is something that we're excited about on our team. Okay, so that's Illustrator. Hi, Columbia. Cool.
Awesome.
Let's look then at Photoshop and see how they do it. So I have some text preloaded, and I'm sure there's multiple ways to get to shadows, but I know that the way I kind of do it is layer style, and then coming over to shadow, drop shadow, yes. And then you get this like kind of massive
there's a lot going on.
Effects panel, and drop shadow is one sort of part of that.
Okay, so they have
here.
So how do you add multiple? Is there a little plus button right there, or what is that?
Yes.
Ah, okay, so
excellent.
That just duplicates it.
Okay, so there's a little plus button. That's really helpful.
It's actually a really good affordance to show which ones you can duplicate. They just all have that thing in the right column.
Yeah. Okay, so I think now I feel pretty ready to start mocking something up, but I don't know exactly like what we should mock up. So I'm gonna, I'm not ready to make that choice yet.
I always put it off. Oh, look who it is. It's Talon. Stayed up
Talon,
to watch us.
Hi. Talon, we're designing multiple shadows.
I hope you've been eating well. I like that.
Okay, so these are some of my favorite examples that I found on Dribbble of multiple shadows. And I particularly liked the work of Tom Wellington. He just had all these like very, very cute little icons that are kind of like layered and brought to life, which I really liked. So I guess I thought maybe we could kind of replicate that. Replicate one of those.
So with the multiple shadows here, do they position differently? So like one's angling one way and another one's angling a different way?
I think you mean the way the Google material design ones work?
Yeah, so with the multiple shadows, is that a really important part of it in controlling direction? Or like what do you think the most important part of like a multiple shadows? Like what effects are you trying to achieve with multiple?
Well, I think like, again, like the recipe for those Google material design ones are like being able to kind of layer in a really subtle ambient light, it seems like, on top of or mixed with a directional one. So I do think that's important, but I feel like it's almost most important to like kind of have that nice blendy layering.
Okay.
There's something about that seems like it allows it to all be seamless and like a nice subtle like realistic effect.
Cool.
What do you think?
I think that's true. I think that's probably the most important part of it, because it does give like this nice rounded like feel to the shadow. I was just noticing in all those panels, like setting up the position coordinates, all the position coordinates get out of hand, like setting up an X offset, a Y offset, the direction of things. And I'm just wondering if there's like a good way to simplify that process too.
Yeah, let's take a stab at it.
Cool.
So I'm seeing Talon say that Tokyos are very big in, or wait, did I just say? I think I switched words in my head. Multiple shadows are very big in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna do them proud. Have something good going on this.
Okay.
There's actually a couple ways to do this in XD today.
Okay.
But it's not ideal, right? You can add a blur effect to an object, and then duplicate that, and then change the blur and opacity of that. But that's definitely not ideal. Like, we want to be able to kind of mimic that, but with a more dedicated tool and process to that.
So I'm gonna kind of oh yes, I can. I'm going to pull in our little inspiration image. Let me see if I can do that and just have that on the paste board. Let me. Okay, yeah, sweet.
You allowed it.
No, this is actually one of my favorite features of XD, that I can pull things right out of the browser onto the baseboard. Like, when I discovered that, I got really excited.
You can just collect all your thoughts and all your inspiration and
Yeah.
put it all in one source. It's
And
great.
you can also drag it straight into, I don't really want to do this, but you can drag it straight into
And shapes.
Yeah, really great. Okay, so I have that on my pasteboard. I know now I want to make a really kind of cute multi-shadow icon. And now we start kind of speculating what that UI might look like. So we have these as our examples, which involve, on this, in Illustrator's case, like kind of an appearance panel that keeps track of all the different effects that are applied. And then those have their own kind of like pop over appearance panels, right? And that's like almost the direction we're already in for XD. So we do have an appearance panel and we do have like a stack of effects. But we don't right now have the ability to add multiple.
Right.
Okay, so what are you doing? I'm gonna hop over to Alex's screen.
I had a little thing I was gonna work on.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but I was gonna riff off of this whole positioning thing. I just had like a little spark of inspiration just seeing some of these panels.
Sweet.
So like I mentioned before, you can fake shadows. All I have is this other object, this rectangle with an object blur on it. So I can take this and then I can put it behind here. I can lower the opacity, and then I can just duplicate that. And I'm gonna send this to the back using like command brackets to send layers.
Yep.
So now I have another shadow over here. So now I have technically I have multiple shadows.
Yeah.
This isn't ideal because now I have to maintain all of these rectangles and all of these blurs, and but you can start to get this padding. So I'm wondering now what it would be like to be able to control some of these shadow directions on canvas. Just so we can get rid of some of all of that, the paneling that's happening with X offset, Y offset. So what would it be like if, here, I'm gonna set this right here, and I'm gonna add this is gonna get a little weird.
Let's do it.
But I'm gonna add this guy, make this, the XD blue, which is double up on this. So this is gonna be like our little handle. I'm gonna zoom in on here. Add a little grippy guy so you can grab
nice.
it. Maybe make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'm gonna select these and then I'm gonna group them together with Command G. All right, let's see if this works.
Okay.
So this is my shadow controls for now. Actually, we're gonna say this is selected, and you're gonna get this little I don't know what you'd call this, a rail maybe. So this is pretty much just saying
sure.
where I can drag. Make this blue too. I'm gonna duplicate this artboard. And I'm gonna drag this. I'm gonna set this up a little bit differently. I'm gonna make the shadow over here. So what this is this blue dot is essentially my light source, or at least what I'm assuming is my light source. So I'm gonna take this and drag it over here. And then I'm gonna take this shadow and move it over here. And we're gonna see what we can do with some auto animate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if I hook these two up and I actually, take that back. I'm gonna take this object, so hook this up over here, put a little drag on here, have auto animate, and then hopefully we can get the effect that I'm in my head I see. But I start to drag this.
Oh my gosh, cool.
So now I can start to affect how the angle of the shadow works, but on canvas. So now I don't have to worry about X and Y coordinates. And you could even imagine taking this and like going back to design mode and putting like the value, like X is like 100.
Yeah.
And then that would just kind of give you these properties as you drag it, so you can get a little bit more refined. And of course you'd want them in the property inspector.
Yeah.
Just so you can fine tune and just add values, but.
Okay, so I wonder then, yeah, can we imagine what the property inspector UI might look like? Or is this something where there's kind of an on-canvas like pop-up with different...
Oh, totally. So when you start adding like multiple shadows, you want to keep the property inspector as simple as possible. So if we can offset some of these things into the canvas and then keep just like the really pure things in here. So like when you do have multiple things, you don't necessarily have to worry about having like 50 properties underneath each shadow. Maybe you can start to like, get it over here, and then these are just really basic turn on and off, and all like the drag stuff too, right? When we were looking at Illustrator, let me go here, go a little gray. Well, in Illustrator, remember, like one of the really important things was to be able to change order. So like giving these handles so people know that they can drag them, and then because like once you add shadows and like blend modes and things like that, the stack order actually really does affect the order of everything. Yeah.
So do you imagine that maybe we can try to create kind of like a walkthrough of like adding that other shadow?
Totally. Let's do that. Let's clear off some of this for now. Just keep it focused.
You know how it had cool shadows? Fireworks. Says Talon.
He doesn't have any bias on that.
Okay, yes. So we're gonna add a plus button, that's like very new frontier for our property inspector, but opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, totally. So we have one shadow here already, right? So what we want to do is say, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that hitting the plus button should generate a new generic one, or should it duplicate the one that you already have?
I'm a big fan of sticky properties. I don't like having to kind of redo from a default at each time I make an operation, so... Should
this be over here maybe, and just really quick, like I can duplicate this one, and
then
I'll just go down there?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool.
It's our world.
It's our world. This is like Bob Ross, kind of going into it.
Happy little pluses.
Okay, so we have our plus button over here, so we're gonna say that when you click on this, and I'm just gonna prototype in real time so I don't have to come back to it.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a tap. Not an auto animate, we're just gonna do a transition with no animation. Okay, so we're gonna take all of these things and we're gonna put them in a repeat grid.
Oh, so would there be like additional, how would we fit in all those different like shadow parameters underneath?
Great question. There's a couple ways I can imagine that. Sort of like how we deal with gradients. Maybe it's a little pop-up HUD when you click on this, so it actually opens up. Or they could be...
Actually, if you, in this file, kind of like a little cheat to the left, I've pre-populated with some UI that you could use if you want.
Yeah, let's do this. This will like save
Just
my
to
life.
drop it in and show how you might edit that.
Oh, cool. This is totally a hack. I like it.
Thanks, Josh. We're happy to have you. We're happy you're tuning in.
Let's see. Ungroup some things. Ooh. Select these. Okay. So we're gonna take over this spot, right?
Yeah.
Let's make this a plus for now, though.
Yep. So this is, I think for people who have tuned into this segment before, last month when Talon designed a feature live, these are really rough mock-ups so that we can really get the sense of like what a workflow using this might be. And this is something that we would come back to and polish and add a way, for instance, take something away.
Yeah, this is
for
totally...
now, we just want to know how it would feel, like how it would work to quickly add multiple shadows.
This is totally just us sketching, like in a notebook essentially, but in XD. We're just throwing it out there, seeing what sticks, and then refining later. Okay, so I have this, now I have to duplicate this, right?
Yep.
So now it's a little bit thicker. So right away you can see I have
2 shadows.
2 shadows. Let's see if
So shady.
I've thrown shade all over.
Yes, right. Talon, thank you for reminding. One of the most essential pillars of XD is like the ability to make these prototypes so that we can test with users.
Yeah. This is essentially something we would share with our team. We would put in front of users, maybe once we get a little bit more fidelity and things figured out. But yeah, that's sort of the point, right? It's just get it out there, and then you have this nice big blue button up here. You can share it out, send it to your people.
Exactly. So this is a super, maybe what do we want our like final state to be? Maybe we can show like one more panel with like a different blur radius or something, or like a kind of, what's one more parameter that might be down there?
Let me pop over to my cheat sheet.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah, we have the X, Y, and the blur of it all. What else?
That's true.
What did it have?
Well, I think we're running out of time, but I want to, now that I saw the way it works in Illustrator, I want to also add a blend mode to the shadow, but I don't think we have time for that.
That would be difficult.
So let's just say there's additional UI that you've manipulated. And like you said, you've made this quick prototype.
We have 2 really solid things out of this. We have our directional guy, which we can just play around with directions on canvas.
I love that.
Which would supplement these 2 things, right? So we can, we would see those things being affected.
Exactly.
And then we have a really basic workflow. So we actually decided, instead of just duplicating a generic thing, we decided we want to duplicate the actual properties that we've decided on in the past. And those are 2 actually really important things that we've decided just by talking it out and like building it out. Totally.
So now let's, like you were going to do anyway, let's share this prototype to get some feedback.
Share it out. All right, so up front I have to make sure I have things wired up together. So wire this over there. So these things are all good to go. My home screen right here, you can see the blue guy, making sure this is my start screen. And I'm gonna go share for review. That way they get a nice web link, and they can't edit the file or anything.
Right. And we, allow comments.
Absolutely.
And you're making a link that you can send to anybody.
Perfect.
Cool.
So I can copy this, send it, share it, do whatever you want with it.
Nice.
Ship it. Exactly, Talon.
Ship it. Hi, Camilla. Welcome. First time.
Nice.
We just designed a feature.
It's pretty close to how things get done, so I'm pretty happy about it.
All right, well, we're almost out of time. It's been a real pleasure to be with you all today. Happy Friday. We miss you, Talon. Have fun in Tokyo. Good luck at your talk tonight.
Safe travels,
or
Talon.
tomorrow morning.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.